Delray Beach and West Palm Beach, both coastal, both in Palm Beach County, and both offering a distinct, refined version of the South Florida lifestyle. In this video, I'm going to take you beyond the map so you can decide which one might be the best fit for you. So I know I said I was going to take you beyond the map, but I am going to start with the map because I think it's important for context. And I also have gotten a lot of feedback from people saying how much they do enjoy the map discussion, especially when they're not familiar with this area as you get more granular and look down into different towns. So I'm going to just share my screen. First of all, just a 30,000 foot view of Palm Beach County. So here is Delray down in South County. The south border of Palm Beach County is here just between Boca Raton and Deerfield Beach. It's funny, you'll notice that there are these canals that run from Lake Okeechobee, and they tend to be dividing lines in the counties between cities. So that's something you'll notice that I'll talk about, like the C-52 canal or the C-16 canal, and those are a lot of times dividing lines. So here's Delray and here's Boca. So this is really considered South County from probably like Boynton Beach south. And then here's West Palm Beach here, and West Palm Beach is really central to northern Palm Beach County. And here we have the very top of Palm Beach County here, just above Tequesta, kind of straddles Martin County and Palm Beach County. So as you can see, Delray is more to the south, and West Palm is being the county seat and one of the oldest and largest cities in Palm Beach County. This video, I did one where I compared Boca to West Palm Beach, and that was more of a direct comparison. And in this case, with Delray and West Palm Beach, they really are a contrast because West Palm is a large city, and I would say Delray is more like a town. So that is the first differentiating factor. And go on to share some videos of both of these municipalities and tell you more about them. I like to start just by showing you the niche. So here's the boundaries for Delray Beach. And if you look in my video library, you'll see that I recently did a video on Delray, so that might be helpful to you also. So we'll go back and I'll just show you the niche rating for Delray. And as you can see, it gets an A rating. And I talked about this before. It gets an A for nightlife, which is for sure. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And public schools at B+. There are good public schools in Delray, and then there are a number of area private schools that are excellent as well. American Heritage is a really good school that's in South County, as well as Pinecrest and St. Andrews in Boca, along with a number of others. And there's also Florida Atlantic University, which is just in Boca, south of Delray. So schools are excellent. And I showed you the boundary map here, and you have the context that, I'll show you the population in Delray is 66,000. I think it's like 130,000 in West Palm. So probably more than twice, 119. So it's a double the size in terms of population. And Delray, I would say, is more of a town than, whereas West Palm Beach is more of a city. And it has more urban characteristics, West Palm does, than Delray. And looking at West Palm, the rating is a B+, so they get a B- for public schools, an A for nightlife, which we'll talk about that. So I would say the schools in West Palm, for the whole county, we have magnet programs, we have school choice. So there are a number of standouts in the West Palm area, like Suncoast High School, Bach Middle School, Dreyfus School of the Arts, Palm Beach Public. Those are all public schools that are outstanding. Suncoast and Dreyfus are ranked nationally. So we have excellent public school choices, and then we have just outstanding private schools as well. We've got Benjamin, we've got Oxbridge, we've got the Green School, St. Anne's, the Rosarian, Palm Beach Day. So there's a lot of really good private schools and public schools in West Palm. So I would say, and also Palm Beach Atlantic University is right in downtown West Palm, and Vanderbilt is bringing their graduate school to downtown West Palm to an area just north of City Place. So there's a lot going on the school scene, and it's all good news, I think. So there you have the niche ratings for both, and you can see I showed you on the map the A rating here, and then their proximity to each other. So West Palm, I'll talk about this in a minute, but transportation, the airport is convenient to both. I would say that Delray has better options because they're kind of an equal distance between Palm Beach International and Fort Lauderdale Airport. And that is a draw for some people because, especially when it's off season, you don't get as many direct flights out of PBI as you do out of Fort Lauderdale. So if you live in Boca or Delray, you have options because you're kind of an equal distance between the two airports. Okay, so since I was talking about the airports, I thought I would just segue into transportation in general, just to give you an idea about that, because that's important. I'm the kind of person, I'm like, if you just keep your world small and circular in one area, it makes life easier. And that is definitely true here. I mean, we have a very flat topography. So if you come from somewhere else where you're used to hills and mountains and winding roads, and, our grid road system makes it pretty easy to get around from city to city. But our two main roadways, freeways, if you will, we don't really call them freeways, are I-95, which runs to the east, right along here in the eastern part, all the way down to Miami, and north all the way up along the whole coast of Florida. And then the inner road is the Turnpike, which kind of merges with 95 up here in the Jupiter area, but it runs more to the west. It doesn't look like it's very far here, but it's quite a bit to the west. So, people that live out in the western communities typically use the Turnpike. And back in the day, the Turnpike was more used for longer trips. It didn't have as many exits, and it kind of heads toward Orlando, more up in the Kissimmee area, whereas 95 stays right along the coast. But those are our two main expressways. If you're living in Delray and you want to get up to West Palm, you typically would take 95, although some people like to take A1A, which you can all the way. It's a little bit slower journey, and there's plenty of little towns with police cars. But anyway, so those are our two freeways. And then we do have public transportation. One is a high-speed rail called the Bright Line, which has probably been around maybe 10 years, not quite that. And that has fewer stops. It does have a station right in downtown West Palm. If you live in Delray, there is Bright Line station in Boca, so that's not very far to go from Delray, but it isn't right in the town of Delray. And then you have Fort Lauderdale and Miami to the south, and West Palm, and then it goes on to Orlando. So that is a great addition to our transportation system, and that is more like a air flight experience than your typical train. And in Florida, this is like a big deal for us. I know if you come from the Northeast, you're used to taking subways and trains and buses, but that hasn't always been the case here. And then the other alternative is called the Tri-Rail, and the Tri meaning that it runs 3 counties, Palm Beach County, and then Broward County to the south, which is Fort Lauderdale, and then Miami-Dade County, the 3rd county to the south. And so the Tri-Rail is more like the local, and there is a Tri-Rail station in West Palm Beach, right downtown. And then the Tri-Rail station in Delray is just a little bit west of the downtown, west of 95 off of Congress, but off of Atlantic, and not very far west of 95, because actually Congress is another through road that we use, and it runs just along 95 here, whereas when you get up here further north, it's further to the west. So that's pretty convenient, but it is kind of the local, and it does get crowded, and it does take time, and the transportation when you get where you're going isn't always good. You end up having to take an Uber, so it isn't always as convenient. But I do know people who live in Delray, and their kids might go to the Dreyfus School of the Arts or Suncoast School, and there are a lot of kids on there going to their magnet schools on the Tri-Rail. So that's just something to know about. And then the last thing I will say, going back, talking about the airports, I'll show you I mean, our airport, I mean, don't tell anyone, but it's amazing. It's a smallish airport. It's an international airport. It has great flights in the wintertime because we have our population practically doubles. In the summer, not as much. But as you can see here, Palm Beach International, here's downtown West Palm. I used to live just in this area right here, and I could take an Uber to the airport and be there in 10 minutes, not even that. So for this whole area of West Palm and Palm Beach, the airport is fantastic. So if you're down here in Delray, that isn't the case. You have to drive, and it's probably at least a half-hour drive. And let's get back to showing you where Delray is. But the upside is that the Fort Lauderdale airport, which is, let me just zoom out just a little bit more. Here's Fort Lauderdale here. So from Delray, you know, it's almost an equal distance, a little bit further, but you do have a lot more flight options. And then the only other thing I'll say is because I-95 is our only real expressway along, you know, serving these eastern communities up and down, it does have a lot of traffic, especially in the wintertime when we have a larger population and school is in. And you could end up like if you're in Boca or Delray and you're coming up to West Palm every day and you're using 95, you could get stuck in like 3 or 4 slowdowns before you get to West Palm. And the same is true going south from Boca down to Fort Lauderdale. So that's just fair warning that we can have heavy traffic, and we do. But if you're living in your little town here and you're working in the town, or maybe you work remotely, you know, traffic can be pretty good within both of these cities, excluding when there are events going on in the wintertime. So anyway, that's an overview of the transportation in both of these cities. Before I talk about the lifestyle and all the pluses of both of these cities, I'm going to talk about just the beach and water aspect of each, because when I talk to people and I show people properties in different towns, some people just absolutely want to have the beach where they can walk to the beach or ride their bike to the beach. Beach access is really important to them. And then other people, they like the coastal aspect of any of these cities, but they don't have to have the beach so accessible. They kind of mentally want to know it's there, but it isn't as important. So I am going to talk about that first here before I talk about everything else that's going on with these towns, so that you can see the proximity and how that works. So I'm going to share, and I'll start with Delray, because Delray really is a beach town, and it really is a town. So, and again, if you look at the video I recently did on Delray, I really go into all this. But here's Atlantic Avenue, and this is the main roadway. There's a exit off of I-95, and say all the way from, like, say Swinton to the beach. This is very walkable, this length of Atlantic. And then here you have the beach, and you have this whole length of, I mean, I guess it's at least a couple miles of beach that is public beach, where most of the buildings are on the, until you get down to this turn here where you have some single family homes along the ocean here. But from just maybe like a mile or so south of Atlantic, and then the same going north, you have this beautiful beach. I mean, you just see these videos I'm showing you here, but it's a fantastic beach. And the other great thing about it is this whole length of Atlantic. You know, I'm going to talk about what's going on here in the western part of Atlantic, on the west side of the intercoastal. And I'll point out here, you'll see how narrow the intercoastal is here, and it does get wider in some spots. But when I show you West Palm, which has Flagler Drive that runs along the whole length of the waterfront with the city, and the intercoastal up there was an original natural lake called Lake Worth, so it's much wider. So what the great thing though is that you could live in any of these areas here in Delray and easily be a bike ride to the beach. And then, or if you're walking, I mean, it's just a little simple bridge that goes over the intercoastal here. And then as you come down Atlantic through the east side of the intercoastal, you have just shops and restaurants on both sides of the road. It's very pedestrian friendly. And then when you get to the beach here, you have this platform that looks out over the ocean, and you have dunes and sea grape trees all along the beach here. The water is just gorgeous. The beach is beautiful. There are a couple of private beach clubs along here. And then on the western side of A1A, just south of Atlantic here, You have a number of excellent restaurants that have been, Boston's on the beach, a couple of other really great restaurants you'll see I'm showing you here. So it's just very lively, but it's not kitschy and honky tonk. It's really more of a refined, it's not snobby and over the top in that way, but it's just very civilized. And so that is what Delray has going for it. And then it does have several marinas. The Seagate Beach Club is just down here, just south of Atlantic. And it also has a hotel, the Seagate, that's here on Atlantic. There's the Opal, which is a really nice luxury but low-key hotel just right here on the corner, the northwest corner of A1A and Atlantic. You've got a public marina, you've got the Seagate Marina, and then you have another marina up here by George Bush Boulevard where you can actually rent boats instead of having to own one. So, you know, the boating lifestyle is here, but the other thing about the water in West Palm, I'm going to show you how they have the Lake Worth Inlet, which is the Palm Beach Inlet, and it's much larger and more navigable, whereas here in Delray, you've either got to go up to the Boynton area, to the Boynton Inlet, which is like right in here, Ocean Inlet Park, or you have to go south to Boca and the Boca Inlet, which can be a little touch and go to get out of. So the Boca Inlet's right in here. And so I think that boating is a little more limited in terms of ocean access with your boat, but people find a way because they love to boat. And there's also plenty of places that if you have your boat on a trailer, or you could keep your boat in a shed, you know, one of these companies that stores boats and they put them in the water for you. So there's plenty of that all north and south of Delray as well. So now if we talk about that same idea of but water, but in West Palm, I think it has a whole different water thing going on because there really aren't any true beaches in West Palm proper, because here's West Palm. It runs from down here. I was telling you about the canals again. The C-52 canal right here divides Lake Worth Beach from West Palm Beach. And then you can come along Flagler here. You can see, I'll show you these videos of, see here's Flagler Drive, and it runs this whole length until you get up into Northwood up here where there are homes along the intercoastal here. But you probably have like 6 miles of waterfront, and you can see how wide Lake Worth is here compared to down in Delray, how it gets so narrow down here. So it really is, it's expansive. It's what people really love about this waterfront city. And although there aren't as many, like Delray does have where you can live in the southern part of Delray, and there's homes that are on canals so you can have your boat in your backyard. But when you're up here in West Palm, except for some of these houses that are along Flagler Drive, they're, you know, multi-million-dollar homes. They do have riparian rights. So they have docks along Flagler where their house is on the west side of Flagler. And then, so you do have to find boat storage or keep your boat in a marina, which there are plenty of marinas. There's one in downtown West Palm. There's one over here in Palm Beach. And then there's more up to the north. But that's the water. So the beach for West Palm Beach is over here in Palm Beach. And the only downside to that is that the public beach is somewhat limited. Like you've got Worth Avenue right around here. So this stretch of beach here is public, but I have to find parking because there's no parking lots. So if you live in West Palm proper like this, there's 3 bridges, the South Bridge, the Middle Bridge, and the North Bridge that go over to Palm Beach. And if you live, say, downtown in a condo, or you live down here in one of the historic districts, when I lived down here in Prospect Park, I used to ride my bike all the time up Flagler and then over to the beach. West Palm is just more on a larger scale with everything than Delray. But when it comes to the beaches, not so much. Beaches, there's way more beach access in Delray, and also going down into Boca than there is here in West Palm. And then your other beach options from West Palm are either to go down to Phipps Park or further south to the Lake Worth Beach, or you could come north and go to the beach on Singer Island and MacArthur Park here. And this has a gorgeous beach, and it's actually a large state park. It's the only state park that's in Palm Beach County, and it's actually part of North Palm Beach. But that is worth a visit. You can kayak here in the lagoon. You can come out into the waterway and kayak, and then it has this stretch of just completely pristine beach because all the way north you've got Lost Tree and then the Seminole Golf Club. So all of this is pretty undeveloped beach and great for walking. So that is the story of the water. Oh, one last thing with West Palm is if you live in West Palm and you keep your boat anywhere along here, here's the, they call it the Lake Worth Inlet, but other people refer to it as the Palm Beach Inlet. So here's the north end of the island of Palm Beach and the town of Palm Beach. And here's Palm Beach Shores on the end of Singer Island. And you've got this great navigable waterway. So if you're keeping your boat anywhere around here, you're like zip and you're out in that beautiful blue water. Super easy. So in case you don't know, my name is Diane Wimbrow, and I am a lifelong South Floridian and realtor here in Palm Beach County. And I get calls and texts from people all the time who are thinking about moving to South Florida, but they just don't know where to start. So if this sounds like you, feel free to give me a call or shoot me a text, and we can schedule a chat or a Zoom call, and I'd be happy to help you figure out the right place for you. And in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you'll know every time we have a new video. So let's get back to talking about West Palm Beach versus Delray Beach. I'm going to talk a little bit about the residential options. And I think that like the price points for both of these cities are similar. It is expensive to live. If you want to live in a single family home and you want to be in West Palm proper or Delray Beach proper, it's hard to find a house for under $1 million. I will say that. Here we are in West Palm Beach. If you live in anywhere east of US 1 here, in any of these neighborhoods near Flagler, going all the way down to the south end, referred to as Soso, and then up here north of, this is Southern Boulevard that goes over to Palm Beach. Here's Mar-a-Lago, and all in here, Prospect Park, Southland Park, El Cid. All of these neighborhoods have been discovered and are in high demand, so it's hard to get a house in here for like under $2 million, and then, you know, they go up accordingly as you go up into El Cid. The one area that when it comes to single family homes where there is some opportunity is up here in Northwood, and there's a lot going on in Northwood. I did a video just on the Northwood district, and I also did a video on the top 5 neighborhoods in West Palm Beach. So take a look at that and you can see more about the residential options. But I will say, if you are interested in a condominium, you can find a condo, a waterfront condo even, along Flagler or here downtown, and you could get something for $500,000 and up being like as high as some just super luxury condos that have been built and are being built along Flagler, you know, $5 million, $10 million and up. And if you see, I did a video also on the top 5 new projects that are going up, condo projects in West Palm Beach. And that's kind of a double-edged sword. I don't know how crazy a lot of people are about having all these tall buildings, but they seem to be doing it thoughtfully. And you can see, I'm showing you some of these projects. There's a Ritz-Carlton being built north on Flagler, along with a couple of other projects. And then some super luxury projects here south of the Middle Bridge, right here on Flagler before you get into the historic district. So, and then of course, Palm Beach, you know, it's hard to find a house for under $5 million in Palm Beach, but most things, $10 million is more of a normal price point and up in Palm Beach. So that's kind of the story on the cost of housing. And I can talk to you more about that. And you can also see some of my videos where I go into more detail on that. And then we'll look at Delray, and really the price points in Delray, if you're going to be living in East here, the homes are kind of that same thing. You know, it's kind of hard to find a house under $1 million in any of these neighborhoods here. Although there are some older neighborhoods to the south here, there are some opportunities. You just have to kind of know what you're looking for. And then over here along the ocean on the east side of the Intracoastal, you know, the price point, it's beautiful and the lifestyle is great. And there are a lot of single family homes and lower profile condos, and it is beautiful. But it is pricey in here. Now you can live out west here, and there's a lot of different developments out here with more reasonable price points on homes. So it's pretty across the board on prices, and you really need to have a conversation about what you're looking for, what your wallet looks like, what your budget is, and then work from there. But both of them, I would say the price points are comparable between Delray and West Palm Beach, especially in the coastal areas. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about, I'm calling it the vibe, the vibe or the lifestyle comparison of the two cities. And I'm going to start with Delray because it is the smaller city and has a little bit more of a comfy, kind of cozy charm to it, especially in the summer months. In the winter months, there's a lot going on, and I think their population practically doubles as well. But you have kind of the east and the west of Delray. So I've been focusing on here around Atlantic down to Linton. This is like if you live in eastern Delray, this is where you're circulating, all in here. And then out west here, there are all kinds of communities, gated communities. It used to be farmland back in the day, and over the years, it has been developed into like golf communities or just gated communities. So most of these communities are not in Delray proper in terms of the city limits, but they consider themselves Delray. They're just Western Delray. And these people that live out here enjoy this in here, just like the people that live in here. So I would say it was interesting because my sister lives in Jupiter Inlet Colony, and she has a good friend that moved here, kind of a retirement home, but they built this beautiful home up in this northwest quadrant of Delray, where you can see in these videos, it's kind of a historic area. You have Pineapple Grove in here where there are older homes, historic homes, and it's kind of the art district off of Swinton here, Old School Square, where they have a museum and they have art exhibits. So all in here are historic homes. Down here you have some more like mid-century modern, and then all in these sections you have kind of low-rise condominiums being built all along here. And this is US 1 that's divided, and there's all kinds of low-profile living options there. So the vibe here is like, it's very laid back. There's great shopping. There's great restaurants. It's very walkable. The people that live here, I was just saying that my sister's friend moved here, and it was fun to see her enthusiasm about Delray through her eyes of having just moved here in the last few years. And she just loves living in here. She accesses the beach by way of George Bush Boulevard. She and her husband rent a boat here at the marina that's here at George Bush Boulevard, so they can just go cruising on the Intercoastal. She comes down here and goes to the Seagate Club for going to the beach. They're golfers, so they belong to a club out west. So she was like the perfect example of how someone could enjoy it really was and is a resort town, and it has all those amenities that go with it, and in a laid back sort of way. So that's kind of the vibe and the lifestyle that I would say about Delray. And so as an example, in comparison, West Palm still has that laid back feel as a city, but we're holding on for dear life to maintain it. I say this because there has been so much attention since COVID on West Palm Beach, and the West Palm area has been given the moniker of the Wall Street of the South. So a lot of financial services companies have moved their operations to West Palm, and there's just a lot of money paying attention to West Palm. So there's a lot going on there. So it really is more of a city, but you still have, because it's an older city, it's the oldest city in Palm Beach County. So you have, this is the main road, Okeechobee, that comes in from I-95, and it crosses into Royal Palm Way when you get to Palm Beach. And you've got Flagler Drive running all along the waterfront. And so it's a very walkable city, even though it is a city. And you have Clematis Street here is kind of the Atlantic Avenue of West Palm Beach, and its crown jewel is here right at the water, where there's a big park there and an amphitheater, and the Green Market. It's the top rated green market nationally that's there every Saturday morning during the season. And then if you come out west here, you have City Place, We've got the Kravis Center where there are Broadway quality shows that go on there. We have the Norton Museum of Art, and we have this whole art district all along Arts and Antique Row here. I could just go on. And then there's also some revitalization going on up here where, like, for example, here where it says Railroad Avenue, they're building a new district called Nora, which is north of the railroad. So this is an area that was a little bit blighted, and now it's getting turned around. And then all the way up to Northwood Village, there's a park here called Curry Park, and the city's putting like $40 million into renovating this park. And you go up here to Rybovich, and there's a super mega yacht facility up here, and there's reimagining this whole Northwood district. So there is a lot going on in addition to all the historic districts that run down here along Flagler, south of downtown, all the way down to the south end. It's referred to as So-So. So if you wanted to know more about the neighborhoods of West Palm Beach, I did a video on the top 5 neighborhoods. And so as you can see, it's just night and day in terms of from a size perspective. You know, Delray really is that laid back but refined resort town, and West Palm is kind of the big sister there in terms of, you know, being more of a city, but also just hanging on for dear life to our laid back personality that has always been West Palm. So that's just an overview comparison of the two cities. So last I'm going to just talk about, you know, if you're a foodie or if you love the art scene, both of these towns can really meet that need. And Delray, it's just known for its restaurant scene. Along Atlantic, there are so many great restaurants. You can go from the Sunday House that's being redone on Swinton and walk all the way down Atlantic. And there's just, I mean, the nightlife during the season at night, there's restaurants, there's clubs, there's bars, shops, and just so much going on Atlantic all the way to the beach. And then they also have a really big art scene like Pineapple Grove, Old School Square, galleries all along Atlantic. And what's interesting about both of these cities is that they both have kind of a sister city that just adds to the lifestyle. So talking about Delray, Boca is really just minutes away, just over the line. I'm going to show you on the map. Boca is just down here. Here's Florida Atlantic University, just down here south of Delray, and you can easily just come right down US 1. And first of all, Boca has just the most beautiful beaches. They have so many parks along the beach. So most of their beachfront, some of it is residential, but most of it is accessible. And then in the city itself, they have, on a smaller scale than West Palm Beach, they have the Boca Museum, they have performing arts, they have Meisner Park for shopping. There's all kinds of shopping along US 1 and tons of good restaurants all over Boca. So that just adds to, I mean, if you got tired of what's going on in Delray, you have Boca right next door, and Boca Raton, and so much going on. The Boca Hotel and Club. It's really a larger version of Delray in terms of its roots are as a resort town and community. And so it has that feel, even though it's grown so much and is a larger scale than Delray. You know, talking about having a sister city, you know, Palm Beach is right across the bridge from West Palm. And there are so many, of course, during the season, as with Boca, there's so many charitable events going on at the Mar-a-Lago Club and at the Breakers. And it's kind of it's the lifestyle in this area during the winter season. And you have the Society of the Four Arts. Across the North Bridge, you have the Royal Poinciana Plaza, which has been completely reimagined. And the theater that was there is now going to be opened. So they'll be having performances there. You have Worth Avenue, where you can go to the beach and then walk down Worth Avenue, where it's some of the most beautiful shopping in the country. And then over here in West Palm, you have Clematis Street, of course, which is the heart of the city. And you have all kinds of things that go on along the waterfront here at the foot of Clematis on the water. But then you also have City Place over here, which is being again, completely reimagined. And there's all these new restaurants and shops and just so much going on there. And that's just adjacent to the Kravis Center of the Performing Arts. And the Norton Museum is ranked nationally as a fantastic museum. You have golf down here to the south. You have a par 3 over here down just south of a public course south of Palm Beach. It's right down here, the par 3. You know, Palm Beach has some of the most fantastic restaurants. You've got the restaurants at the Breakers, and you have all these restaurants all around West Palm popping up everywhere. So there's just something to do all the time and a lot of action in the restaurant scene and shopping. So it's really got a lot going on. So what do you think? Delray Beach or West Palm Beach? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section, and also any thoughts you have on other towns you'd like for me to feature or do comparisons of. I'm here if you want to give me a call or shoot me a text. We can schedule a time to have a chat or do a Zoom call. And don't forget to like and subscribe so that you'll know every time we have a new video. And if you want to dig a little deeper on either of these cities, you can check out my video on the top 5 neighborhoods in West Palm Beach, and also the video I did on Delray Beach.